This is ABC7 News at 7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you.
Don't we love that term, fake? What we've learned about fake over the last little while. Fake news. CNN, fake.
President Trump continues to take shots at the media, including a series of personal attacks against two MSNBC anchors. It comes during a busy week in Washington where multiple issues are coming to a head, from health care to the travel ban to the tensions with North Korea. So why is the president focusing on petty arguments? Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Cohen, and welcome to ABC 7 at 7. Our analysis of the week in Washington is coming up at first, our top 7 stories at 7. And we begin in the city of Sarasota, where commissioners are facing pressure to ban medical marijuana facilities within city limits. The proposal comes just days after Governor Rick Scott signed a law implementing Amendment 2, legalizing medical marijuana in Florida. However, the law gives cities and counties the right to ban dispensaries within their borders. Sarasota police and the city attorney are urging the commission to do just that. The department says the goal is not to restrict access to patients, but to preserve public safety.
I would like to go to a storefront and purchase the product just like I go to Walgreens to pick up my other medications.
What we want to do is have a more conservative approach, sit back and try to prevent some of the public safety issues that we know could come with it, but not at the expense of the citizens.
City commissioners will discuss the issue at Monday night's meeting. A major drug bust in Northport, in a neighborhood that has been the focus of police for months. Officers arresting Tandra Napi after conducting a search of a home on South San Mateo Drive. Police say this is a known drug house. The department has been bombarded with calls and complaints about it and have made 51 visits to the home just this year. Patrols have been stepped up around the neighborhood, and last month officers even held a spontaneous cookout at the property next door. A follow-up on the Nokomis woman accused of giving a man a fatal overdose of drugs. The state's attorney's office is dropping the manslaughter charge against Melissa Winnings because of a lack of evidence. Police say Winnings admitted to giving Sean Harrington the heroin he overdosed on. The medical examiner confirms it was cut with carfentanil, a drug 10,000 times more potent than morphine. Florida recently passed a law allowing those who deal the drug to be charged with manslaughter if a user overdoses on it, but it goes into effect in October. Now to Venice, where the city is finally welcoming the ride-sharing app services Uber and Lyft. While the services have technically been allowed in the city, the approval process was unclear and kept them away. Under pressure from a new state law, the city is making it easier for the drivers to begin operations.
What's different with the new law is that it's put uniform regulations in place as opposed to kind of more of a patchwork.
The state law regulating ride-sharing services goes into effect tomorrow. Now the Casey Key, where drivers are being asked to avoid a road while crews repair a dangerous hole. County crews are filling the road hazard along Gulf of Mexico Drive with concrete. A county spokesperson says over time, water has slowly washed away sand underneath the road, creating this hole. Repairs are expected to take several days.
It's an active construction zone. We've got heavy trucks and workers in the road all day and possibly tomorrow. So we really ask people, stay away, wait till the end of next week if you want to see it.
Repairs should be completed over the weekend. Sarasota County and Longboat Key are opening a 3.5-acre addition to Bayfront Park along Gulf of Mexico Drive. The Gulf of Bay parcel was bought a decade ago for nearly $8 million. Last year, the county offered up another $2 million for construction improvements. Now the expansion to the park is open to visitors. It includes new amenities along with a storm water treatment facility. Longboat Key is also implementing new technology to prepare for flooding during the rainy season. A stormwater valve is being installed at the north end of the island, which sits only 3 feet above sea level. The city manager says it's needed to protect homes and residents.
If it only goes in the streets, or we can keep it to the streets, it's inconvenient, but it doesn't destroy property. But when it goes out into the homes, then we have a whole different situation.
It's hoped the valve is up and running by the end of the summer. Holmes Beach already operates a similar system. And Bob, we have rain out there. I can see it, and you just drove through it.
Yeah, the good news is, though, it's weakening. And, you know, they got the big block party going on down in Sarasota. That's where I was just a few minutes ago. And the rain was coming down. But look at the radar picture. It was intense just about 30 minutes ago, moving through Lakewood Ranch. And all of a sudden, it just kind of fell apart. Some rain still occurring there in downtown Sarasota, but it's very light at this point, and that block party goes on until 10 o'clock tonight. And one thing it did do, it cooled things down. It was 90 degrees, felt like about 100 out there. In a short period of time, the gust front associated with that heavy rainfall cooled things about 15 degrees in just about an hour or so. And now they got some light rain they're dealing with, but that rain looks like it's going to be moving out here fairly shortly as expected, and still some rain along I-75 right there near State Road 64, stretching all the way down to near Lakewood Ranch. There's some lightning strikes, too, just to the southeast of Lakewood Ranch. But notice there's not a lot along the coastline. Some rain up there near Palmasola, and then a few light rain showers on Longboat Key, but not much. And you can see downtown Sarasota getting some light rainfall currently, but as I alluded to, that should be coming to an end here fairly shortly. Some moderate to heavy rain near Fruitville. You can see that there, but that also is shrinking as it makes its way off basically to the north. And right there near State Road 64, a couple of lightning strikes. Some rain near Palmetto and Rabonia, stretching all the way up toward I-275. But the news is it's starting to weaken, and that's a good sign for all outdoor events. So if you were worried about it and concerned about it, things are improving considerably. Right now, we do have some light rain at the airport, though.
All right, thanks a lot, Bob. And still to come, health care is on hold as lawmakers leave Washington for a recess. But now President Trump is flipping on his promise to repeal and replace, just calling for repeal. What should we make of the statement? The story when we return.
Monday on ABC7 News at 7.
You can have a CD, you can have a vinyl, but feel it when it's being played is the best you can ever be.
One last blues jam at the hub of Sarasota's live music scene. The 5 o'clock club is changing hands, but will it have an encore? I'm Alan Cohn. We'll hear from the musicians at the heart of the 5-0.
Monday on ABC7 News at 7. Your Suncoast News. We're here for you.
Mom? Grandma, it's us. Mom, are you here?
When home alone, an emergency can become a tragedy. However, with any of Life Alert's 3 emergency systems, help can be summoned immediately. Whether at home,
help, I've fallen and I can't get up.
in the bathroom,
I've fallen in the shower.
and on the go.
Help, I've fallen in the park and I can't get up.
Don't worry, help is on the way.
Life Alert saves a life every 10 minutes.
For a free Life Alert brochure, call 1-800-863-0113. That's 1-800-863-0113. Call now, 1-800-863-0113. For a free brochure, call 1-800-863-0113.
You studied hard, went to college, and achieved your dream, but it turned into a financial nightmare. If you have federal student loans and you'd like to reduce your payments, get more time, or have your loans completely eliminated, then we have good news. With one call to Student Loan Relief Services, you can find support and guidance. We've already helped thousands of people, and we can help you too. If you have $10,000 or more in federal student loans, you can qualify for payment extensions, payment reductions, or you may qualify to have your federal student loan completely forgiven. Call Student Loan Relief Services now to find out about your options. Take control of your finances and get out from under this burden. One of our student loan experts has the answers to your questions and great solutions to ease your financial burden. We're here for you. Call Student Loan Relief Services now.
Call 800-759-0203, 800-759-0203.
ABC7, your official Florida lottery station for the Suncoast.
A visit from a foreign leader, an unraveling Twitter feud, and an apparent change of mind on the state of American health care, all in a day's work for President Trump. CNN's Jim Acosta has this report.
Standing with the South Korean president, President Trump issued yet another dire warning on the threat posed by North Korea.
The era of strategic patience with the North Korean regime has failed. Many years, and it's failed. And frankly, that patience is over.
But as the president was leaving the Rose Garden, nearly all of the questions shouted at him were not about national security. They were about the president's tweets and his ongoing war of words with MSNBC hosts Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski, who now allege White House aides made them an offer. Go softer on your coverage of Mr. Trump, and the president will kill a story about the TV hosts in the National Enquirer.
They said if you call the president up and you apologize for your coverage, then he will pick up the phone and basically spike this story.
A White House official confirmed Scarborough did speak with the president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, but the official denied there was ever any offer of a quid pro quo. Top White House advisor Kellyanne Conway said it's all about counterpunching critics in the media. Critics Conway described as unpatriotic.
It doesn't help the American people to have a president covered in this light. I'm sorry, it's neither productive nor patriotic.
The president is also disrupting Senate negotiations over health care, tweeting, if Republican senators are unable to pass what they are working on now, they should immediately repeal and then replace at a later date. That mirrors the suggestion from some GOP lawmakers who are growing frustrated with the logjam in the Senate.
What I am recommending is that we give comfort to the American people by repealing the maximum amount of Obamacare that we can, but add a one-year delay before that would be effective, so there's an action-forcing event so that we get to work.
Problem is, it's not what the president promised.
We're going to do it simultaneously. It'll be just fine. We're not going to have like a 2-day period, and we're not going to have a 2-year period where there's nothing. It will be repealed and replaced.
Even some Republicans say splitting up repeal and replace won't work.
The problem is we know how Washington works. You can't, sometimes on deadlines, we still don't get things done.
Healthcare wasn't the only issue making headlines this week. The president's travel ban, increased tensions with North Korea, and of course, the tweet storm. We'll have analysis when we take it to the trapezoid.
I dropped it on the floor, and he stepped on it.
No matter how you broke your smartphone, there's only one smart way to fix it. Batteries plus bulbs. Schedule your repair at batteriesplus.com.
Call to see if you qualify to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan right now. At Humana, we believe great things are ahead of you when you start with healthy. And part of staying healthy means choosing the right Medicare plan. Humana can help. With Original Medicare, you're covered for hospital stays and doctor office visits when you're sick, but keep in mind you'll have to pay a deductible for each. A Medicare supplement plan can cover your deductibles and coinsurance, but you may pay higher premiums than you do with other plans. And prescription drug coverage isn't included. But with an all-in-one Humana Medicare Advantage plan, you could get all that coverage plus Part D prescription drug benefits, all for an affordable monthly plan premium, and in some areas, no plan premium. It's all described in this free book and DVD. Call for yours and discover how an all-in-one Medicare Advantage plan from Humana could save you money. Call 1-800-558-8779.
It's been about a month, and I can honestly say I've seen the change in me. I went from being a depressed girl who didn't want help to this happy, caring girl who loves helping other people. I just really hope that people that went through what I went through get the help that they need, because their story is important and they are loved. Thank you so much for everything.
Here's something we bet you didn't know. Nearly half of all cancers can be prevented. That's right, half. Nearly 50%, mostly by making small everyday changes in your diet and controlling your weight, walking more, eating less, and eating foods that help you and your family to seriously reduce the risk of cancer. And of course, by not smoking. Visit the Cancer Prevention Together We Can website and get a free 30-day planner filled with tips, recipes, stats, and more about protecting your family. Go to prevent50.org.
I'm Alan Cohn. The final jam at the 5 o'clock club. The iconic venue is changing owners, leaving some to ask what will happen to live music in Sarasota.
Monday on ABC7 News at 7. Your Suncoast News. We're here for you.
Welcome back. As if there were not enough drama in Washington this week, Senate Republicans were forced to postpone plans to vote on their plan to repeal and replace Obamacare. Why? They couldn't get enough Republicans not only to vote for it, but even to start the debate on the Senate floor. Majority Leader Mitch McConnell vowed to make changes and was hoping for a deal by today. We were all waiting, all talking about what those changes might be and how will it affect Americans. And then, tweet. President Trump doesn't like what he sees on Morning Joe, so he tweets about the IQ and physical appearance of Mika Brzezinski. The President of the United States tweeting that a woman, Mika Brzezinski, was bleeding badly from a facelift the last time he saw her. So much for message discipline. And joining us with analysis is Michael Sandstrom with the Sarasota Young Republicans, Barry Edwards, a political consultant and strategist, and Steve Sabato, ABC7's editorial commentator. Welcome to you all.
Thank you.
Steve, you've said to us before we have to start paying less attention to these tweets and talk more about important things. I get stuck on the fact that the President of the United States, the chief executive of this country, is talking about a woman in that fashion.
Well, you know, I think we've got to a point now where it's clear that from his perspective, this is official White House policy.
Yes.
So as a journalist, I think you're right to not ignore it. I don't think it can be ignored. And apparently, to coin a takeoff on a phrase from our former First Lady, when they go low, we go high, and apparently the new approach is when they go low, we go lower. So shame on Mika and shame on the President.
Well, what do you mean shame on Mika?
Well, if you watch their show, in the terminology that's used to describe, there's absolutely no respect for the office of the presidency. There's absolutely no factual basis for claims of he's crazy, he's stupid, he's personal name calling. So they lowered the level of rhetoric, not to excuse the president for doing the same, but that is true.
Is that any different than the way that a lot of news anchors and commentators talked about George W. Bush or Barack Obama or even Bill Clinton or George, H.W. Bush when they had moments that were uncomfortable?
No, I don't think that's the point. The point isn't whether this is the first time it's happened. The point is we have a man in office now who is defensive and takes these things personally and strikes back.
I think Trump clearly is very comfortable using Twitter, and I think what this whole scenario reminds me of is the young brother, and the older brother scenario, where the little brother is antagonizing the big brother, until the big brother comes back and antagonizes. Well, the parents only see the big brother, so there has to be some sort of reluctance on his perspective, understanding that even if a lot of people are on Twitter and a lot of people can be bashing him on Twitter, to be a little bit more reserved when it comes to responses and understand that it's not necessarily worth it to tweet back at someone that's calling you nasty. It's not worth it.
Is there any appreciation that you are the President of the United States?
Well, I think we ought to look at it right. He is the President of the United States, which in America, our leader is the head of government like the Prime Minister, but he's also the head of state like the King. And so he represents us ceremonially and things like that. So there should be some decorum there that we do not give him, and we have been less than deferential to our presidents, as we should have been. But also, I think that we need to stop trying to question his judgment. Like Tip O'Neill said, question a man's motivation, not his judgment, and you can work with him. If we constantly attack his judgment, then he's going to shut down, which is what he does. And not to defend him, but also we help him not do anything. He has 1,200 political appointments that run the government. He only has 2 people at the Department of Defense, other than the Secretary, that have been nominated. Not confirmed, but nominated. He's not running the government because he's off tweeting about Mika Brzezinski's facelift. Let's not let him get distracted. We can't hold him accountable if we get these red herrings.
But wasn't the President himself who stepped on his own message in terms of this is the week that the Senate Republicans are voting on or wanted to vote on their health care bill? You had Senator Ben Sasse, who you just saw in the CNN package, tweet, "Please just stop. This isn't normal, and it's beneath the dignity of your office." So instead of negotiating a Senate health care bill, you have Republican senators who are basically being asked about and having to reply to tweets like this.
Oh, absolutely. I've told my Republican friends that if the Democrats did one thing, just shut up. Charles Schumer and Nancy Pelosi should get up and say, This is what the president said. It's self-explanatory, and just let it lie. The Democrats would have the biggest wave in history. We just need to let him hang himself. Give a man enough rope and he'll hang himself. Donald Trump would do that. But the Democrats, we try to get in the mud with him. And what's the old saying, when you get in the mud with a pig, not only do you get dirty, he enjoys it.
Well, you have to also remember this, he's never held a political office before. He's never had military experience before. So I think there's a bit of a learning curve on
how long is that? Come on.
Well,
How long is that learning curve?
Understand it, but you have to understand that
he has been in the public eye longer than Barack Obama has.
So he's gotten used to this kind of attitude that he's had, and I think it's about high time that we start to acknowledge that there's no point in antagonizing him online, and let's get down to brass tacks and pass some good bills, get the health care bill passed, and go on to greater things instead of being bickering at the Twitter level that is not necessarily productive.
All right, we are just getting started, and we will pick up our discussion right after we check the weather. Stay with us.
This Sarasota Powerboat Grand Prix Minute is brought to you by Sarasota Ford.
The Sarasota Powerboat Grand Prix was first organized in 1985. What began as an annual beach picnic for local children with special needs has expanded into an 11-day festival with the races televised to more than 100 countries. The entire festival is produced by Suncoast Charities for Children. The Grand Prix not only generates revenue for charity, but also a significant economic impact. Last year's event generated an economic impact of $37 million.
They're coming from Tampa, Fort Myers, even Orlando. They're coming from everywhere for the Sarasota Ford Promise. Our promise means a new car you'll love. If not, return it for one you do. At Sarasota Ford, we promise live market pricing. We monitor national pricing on our entire inventory, so you get the best deal. In fact, we guarantee it. Bring us any competitor's ad, and we'll beat it by at least $1,000. That's why they're coming from everywhere to Sarasota Ford, where 41 meets 301. SarasotaFord.com.
Attention, Americans eligible for Medicare. Are you getting all the benefits you're entitled to? Did you know there may be money available to lower your medical prescription costs? Call Health Markets and we'll tell you if you qualify.
Hi, I'm Dr. Martin Jeetsi. It's a new Medicare year. That means more changes and more confusion. The key question is, what can you do now to ensure you get the care you need in the coming year?
Call Health Markets today. You may qualify to save money on prescriptions. We'll help you find plans that may cost less, cover more, and could even lower your prescription costs to increase your savings. We help you find all the benefits you're entitled to, and we do it at no cost.
Make sure you have what you need to get the care that's right for you.
Find out if you qualify to receive extra help with your prescriptions. Call the number on the screen now. Representatives are standing by.
Are you a soccer mom or dad? Regardless of their age or experience level, when your kids play soccer or any other sport, there's one person on the sideline who is key to help recognize and seek medical care for sports-related concussion. It's you. You need to know the signs and symptoms of concussion, and you need to act if you think your child has been injured. Remember, when in doubt, sit them out. To learn more, go to cdc.gov/concussion. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004.
Our analysis of the week in Washington continues in a moment, but right now let's get a check on our forecast from Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan.
Thanks, Alan. You know, the rain came quick, and for the most part, it's over now in downtown Sarasota, so things looking pretty good there. But it was quite sunny. It was hot, 90-degree temperatures, and feels like at 100. And then all of a sudden, the gust front came in, the showers came in, and now the sun's starting to pop back. There's a rainbow right there, too. It just showed up. On the Van Wezel webcam, you can see it, so things are looking much better across the area. Earlier, though, rather ominous, a large area of heavy rainfall developing along the sea breeze front, and then it moved in and quickly moved out, although now it's into Hillsborough County. Tough driving conditions along Interstate 75 all the way through Hillsborough up to Interstate 4 right now, but the rain is light across parts of Venice, down into Inglewood, and also in the Northport. Still raining very lightly there up to Lakewood Ranch and also in downtown Sarasota. Not much into Northwest Braden and Anna Maria, getting a little bit of rainfall, but tough driving again near the Sunshine Skyway Bridge in Parrish. That rain is starting to taper off in that particular city. Now, you can see the rainfall amounts very impressive well east of the interstate today. We had up to 1.5 inches near Northport, the same in southeastern portions of Manatee County. And the satellite imagery shows this high pressure ridge is pretty much centered right over the center part of the state. You can see these clouds moving off toward the east, these moving basically to the west, and that's the rotation around the high pressure ridge in that clockwise rotation, and that's going to keep us in a similar pattern over the upcoming days. We're not going to change much at all with showers and storms pretty much each and every afternoon. Favorite areas inland and then the coastal locations later on in the day. 76 right now, so it's cooled considerably at the airport. The rain has come to an end there. The dew point now at 71, east to southeast winds at 6, and that pressure is still fairly high. The high today was 90 and the average 89, so we were close in both numbers, highs and lows, and no rainfall officially at the airport. We had a little bit of a rain, but not enough to make a measurement there. We'll get that. We'll check that out and see how they did on the past hour. 78 now in Orlando, 87 now into Key West and Miami, and temperatures really quite comfortable now into the upper 70s to low 80s up and down the coast. Bradenton now at 74, 76 in Sarasota, and the Gulf water temperature, it's about as warm as it gets. 90 degrees now, taking out the end of the Venice Pier. The forecast for Saturday looks to be pretty good throughout much of the day. A slight chance for a few showers and maybe an isolated thunderstorm around 2, 3 o'clock. But the main concentration of rain will begin after 5, 6 o'clock, and then it'll be inland areas pushing toward the coast later on in the evening. Satellite and radar over the U.S. showing west to east flow, really. There's no big drop of any storm systems around, so it's going to stay fairly warm across most of the U.S. As far as the forecast goes tonight, a slight chance for an isolated shower, mainly to our south, but not much. Tomorrow, we'll start off with some sunshine, a few clouds, and then a slight push of a shower or two around 2, 3 o'clock, and then the main focus, heavy weather in the interior portions of our viewing area on Saturday. Sunday, expect similar conditions with those afternoon and evening storms firing off, and it could produce up to 2 inches of rain in a short period of time. That's because the atmosphere is really quite juiced up right now. For boaters, and there'll be a lot of boating going on this weekend, so be careful out there. Seas are going to be running 2 feet or less, and it looks as though we'll see just a light chop on the bays and inland waters. The water temperature I mentioned now at 90 degrees, and tides upcoming for Sarasota Bay look like this. Low tide at 134 and a high at 747. Sunset at 8:29. The forecast tonight, scattered evening storms, partly cloudy, 76. Tomorrow, scattered storms, and it will be hot, 91. Feels like temperature right around 100 degrees throughout the early afternoon. The extended forecast calling for typical Florida weather with afternoon storms all the way through Friday of next week. Alan and the guests will be back right after this. Stick around.
This is important news for people who had a hip replacement and then had to have additional surgery as the result of a faulty hip implant or were diagnosed with high levels of metal in the blood. Faulty hip implants are linked to swelling, severe pain, difficulty walking, and often require additional surgery to replace or revise the hip implant. It can also cause dangerously high levels of metal in the blood, known as metallosis. If you or your loved one had a hip replacement and then had to have additional surgery as the result of hip implant failure or were diagnosed with high levels of metal in your blood, called metallosis, you may have a right to a cash award and medical expenses. If you have been diagnosed with high levels of metal in your blood or have required more surgery because of hip implant failure, call the law offices of Davis & Crump at the number below right now to find out if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call the law offices of Davis & Crump right now. Our first consultation is free and we don't get paid unless you get paid. Call now. Operators are standing by.
If you're only hungry for a slice of apple pie, why buy the whole pie? And you certainly wouldn't want to pay for an all-you-can-eat buffet. So if you don't use your cell phone that much, why get charged for a plan that's too big, or even an unlimited plan? Luckily, there's still a wireless company that shares your values. Welcome to Consumer Cellular. Our average customer pays about $25 a month for everything they need. Many pay even less, as plans start at just $10 a month. You'll get a straightforward bill that's easy to understand, with no surprises, and all the attention you deserve from our friendly customer service team. No wonder Consumer Cellular has received J.D. Power Awards for highest customer service. Plus, if you're an AARP member, you'll receive special discounts. It's easy to switch. You can even keep your phone and your number. So stop paying for more than you need and start your 30-day risk-free trial today. Call 1-800-468-1930. Go online or visit a Target store today.
Stay connected to your clients and new customers using ABC7 Digital Media Services. Our team of professionals provide a wide array of digital services to help you get the most out of your website. We specialize in building and helping you maintain the most effective digital solutions for your business. It's vital that your online presence stands out, so our experts will equip you with the best resources available. Trust ABC7 Digital Media Services to give you the right tools to grow your business.
Welcome back. Lawmakers are leaving for their recess without repealing or replacing Obamacare, but it was still a busy week in Washington, from parts of the president's travel ban taking effect to sanctions aimed at North Korea, and of course, the tweets. Here for analysis is Michael Sandstrom of the Sarasota Young Republicans, Barry Edwards, a political consultant and strategist, and Steve Sabato, ABC7's editorial commentator. Let's talk about what I thought we would be talking more about this week, and that is the Republican health care plan. They did not, it's incredible to me how they have a majority in the Senate and the House. They could pass whatever they want, and they haven't. Barry?
Because in the House, you have the Tea Party. The House has a closed rule, which means if you have one more person in your party, as the Republicans do, they can take things directly to the floor without amendments or things like that. But so you have to do it within your own caucus, which is the Hastert rule. So the Tea Party can block, or the Freedom Caucus can block anything they want in the House, so they can pull it way to the right. But in the Senate, they don't have that rule, and they have what's called the Coverage Caucus. You have people like Olympia Snowe, you have the senator from Ohio, the former budget director. Those are much more moderate members, and so you only can lose 2 members in the Senate, and I think there's 9 senators now that won't support the new bill.
Well, for 8 years, 7 years, Republicans have talked about repealing Obamacare and replacing it.
And in the House, they voted to repeal it.
With what, Michael?
Well, you know, to quote Rand Paul, he was speaking about reducing some of the subsidies and replacing it with opening the individual markets so that there can be more free market competition. If you look in the costs for healthcare per person in the 60s, it was much lower. And maybe perhaps today is why it's up to $9,000 is because there's government dictates a price. So they need to be able to free up the markets so that the markets can lower the rate. But it becomes a struggle because you have moderate Republicans that want to keep the spending bills from the Obamacare, and then you have the conservatives that want to repeal all of it.
I hate to disagree with my new friend. Every single country that's in a first or second world, it's a developed country in the entire world, has cost controls on medicine. If you get an MRI, it's the same price anywhere in France or Russia or China or India. If you get a Xanax, it's the same price. We can't get control of our healthcare system, and we pay 18% of our healthcare costs, our GDP, and only 6% in every other country, and they have better outcomes. So price is nothing.
There becomes a serious discussion about stagnation when it comes to health care. I personally have an experience of how long it takes to actually get a reference letter in Sweden. In order to get, because I was born in Sweden, I went there to get health care. While I was visiting there, I had an eye problem. It took 10 months to get a reference letter to see a specialist. So do we really want to actually be that stagnation?
Hold on one second. Mitch McConnell, behind closed doors, they came up with a Senate health care plan, and according to a new Quinnipiac poll, only 16% of Americans support or approve the Republican health care plan to replace Obamacare. And not only that, the pollster said 46% of those asked are less likely to support people who vote for that plan. And the pollster went on to say that Americans aren't buying this latest version of the plan to kill Obamacare, and the dismissal comes with a dire warning: if you vote for this, you may not be around to vote for the next version.
So the good news is they didn't pass it, and they're going back to the drawing board. I think they heard that the American public isn't supportive. They couldn't, to your point, put together a coalition. They couldn't get enough Republicans to support it. And so I think it's good news for the country and for our health care future that they did put this on the back burner, and if they can repeal while not taking away the benefits under the Affordable Care Act until they're replaced with something. Let's buy some time and not do a backdoor health care.
Hold on, gentlemen.
We have reset.
So today, the president, in an official statement via tweet, said just repeal it. Just repeal Obamacare, take a break, and come back in a year.
I think the bigger question is, how can we have bipartisan support for a health care bill? How can we get a group of Republicans and Democrats together to write a bill and not have this me versus you mentality? That's the bigger question. Can we do that?
Well, that's my point exactly, is that we need time to do that, than brokering deals behind closed doors and trying to rush it through in 2 weeks is not the way to do it. So if we're going to have some kind of bipartisan conversation, we need some time.
Barry.
What the Affordable Health Care Act, or Obamacare, did was reset the social contract discussion in America. Before that, pre-existing conditions staying on your family's insurance till you're 26 was not part of it. Now, almost universally, not only Democrats, independents, but Republicans all support that. So we've reset that. So Republicans are going to have, in leadership in elected office, are going to have to adjust to the new reality. That's why there's only 15%. I think Fox said the highest percent at 27%. But going back to your previous statement too, America spends 3 times what any other country does on health care, and we have lower outcomes. And we have lower outcomes, so we're not getting our money's worth.
Our premiums have increased.
Michael, let me ask you this, because you were saying, well, what should happen is that Democrats should participate in this process. Number one, Democrats will say to you they were not invited to participate in this process. But tell me what that would look at. Like, hold on one second, because these bills take away funding for Planned Parenthood. It, according to the Congressional Budget Office, it kicks about 20 million Americans off of health care. Where do you see the negotiation there?
You know, I think it goes back to our first conversation about Twitter and how the reality of getting that to tweeting and getting people to just be turned off at the idea of even supporting a president. If there was a health care bill, let's say in theory, that came out that a lot of Democrats on the grassroots level agreed to, would anyone vote for it simply because they would fear for a backlash of, well, you voted for something that the president wants? So is that something that's perhaps stopping progress?
Well, Barry, let me ask you that, because that has been out there, that progressives have said to Democrats, don't you dare participate in this because we're going to come after you if you do, just like a lot of Republicans have been threatened in terms of the right, in terms of being primaried, if they ever agreed with Barack Obama on anything.
Right. One of the things that's happened with polarization, if the other side takes up the idea, we know that Obamacare was a Heritage Foundation project, so it should have been embraced by the conservatives, but because Barack Obama wanted it, they rejected it. So I think what we need to have is our leaders need to be leaders, and I hate to say this to my sunshine friends because I'm a big supporter of the Sunshine Law. The top 10 leaders in the House and the Senate need to get together from both parties privately every weekend for a month, 2 months, whatever it takes, and work out all the details and present it as a bipartisan. Because if you do it any other way, then the other side's going to attack it because the other side supports it. So they're going to have it all done kind of in secret and then have it vetted once they have a package where everybody agrees on.
Let me bring up a couple of issues before we end the segment. Today, the president of South Korea was at the White House. As we are seeing that there is increased concern about North Korea, the president today, not today, but the Defense Department says that it is giving the president military options to deal with North Korea. Steve, how concerned are you about that?
Oh, you know, Alan, I think you're asking the wrong person. I have no idea what the behind-the-scenes issues are relative to whether we should take military action or not. I think we need to continue on diplomatically as long as we can. But I think we need to be prepared to do whatever's necessary. We've got a crazy guy with nuclear bombs, and the president is right about that. The past policy is a failure, and that's a Republican and a Democratic failure.
We have less than a minute left.
The Atlantic Monthly has the cover story this month is about the North Korea issue, and he lays out 4 options, and every single option is bad. The problem for us is once you get a nuclear weapon, it changes the ballgame. And our close ally with a massive economy is 20 miles south, with their capital in Seoul. And we have 50,000 troops that could die.
We're going to need China to come in and show support to perhaps sanctions on North Korea. Well, we have tried that, but is military action really something that the people want? How do you really anger the public? You go into war, and that's certainly not an option that anyone wants.
All right, let's take a quick break, and when we return, we'll have final thoughts from our guests, but what some of our viewers are saying about last night's topic, Florida's new Stand Your Ground law.
Because my parents told me I have to be responsible.
Because my first coach told me, you can do this.
Because my boss showed me how to do a good job.
Because my teacher helped me see the choices.
I'm swimming faster than I ever dreamed.
I am a valuable employee.
I discovered that I could work as an artist.
I will be whatever I want to be.
Youth with disabilities should grow up expecting to work and succeed. For more information, visit whatcanyoudocampaign.org.
I am a veteran. My victory was finding the strength to be a champion.
My victory is having a job I can be proud of.
At DAV, we help veterans get the benefits they've earned.
My victory was finishing my education.
My victory was getting help to put our lives back together.
DAV provides veterans with a lifetime of support.
My victory is being there for my family.
Help us support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
Thanks to all of you who participated in ABC7's contest with a chance to win 4 Florida resident Disney Platinum Passes plus a 4-night stay at a Walt Disney World Resort Hotel.
So now it is time for our grand prize winner announcement.
Congratulations, Larry Phillips of Sarasota. Larry, his wife Carol, and their kids Bradley and Anna won a year of magic at Walt Disney World, where dreams come true. Congratulations from ABC7.
When it comes to drinking, what do you think moderation is? The U.S. Dietary Guidelines define moderation as up to 1 drink a day for women and up to 2 drinks a day for men. So what's a drink? The guidelines say a drink equals 12 ounces of beer, 5 ounces of wine, or a cocktail with 1.5 ounces of distilled spirits. Each contains the same amount of alcohol. Like to learn more? Visit drinkinmoderation.org.
Check out My Suncoast Dining on mysuncoast.com, your guide to the foodie lifestyle. ABC7's own Chef Judy serves up her favorite recipes, cooking tips and trends, dining blogs, step-by-step videos, and Suncoast Restaurant Guide. You'll find it all at mysuncoast.com/dining.
Welcome back. There are pressing issues in our nation: health care, a ban on travelers, increasing tensions with the rogue nation of North Korea. So why is the president spending his time taking on TV anchors on Twitter? What should we make of this? Our guests join us right now for final thoughts. And Steve, I always want to ask the question, whether it is these tweet storms or the debate on health care or Russia or North Korea, what impact do you think this is having on voters here on the Suncoast? And because we have a midterm election that is going to be on us before you know it.
I think it's having the same impact it is on a lot of other parts of the country, namely that it's polarizing and solidifying people's pre-existing opinions about things. I think people who support the president are fed up with the media and think he's right on track and that he's had a great week and he's got his travel ban in place. And I think people who are against the president think that things are just getting worse every day. So unfortunately, I think Florida is becoming more polarized in their positions.
Gary?
I think that luckily only 20% of Americans really follow politics closely. The other 80% have lives, they have kids, they have spouses, and they have to get them to school, and they have to do PTA and all this other stuff. So for those bulk of those Americans, they're just ignoring all this stuff. They're ignoring all the nonsense out of the president's mouth and the people that are responding to him. For the other 20%, it's depressing. We haven't seen massive turnout increases anywhere around the country. There's a few extra voters in the Georgia 6th, but nothing really spectacular, especially when one party spent $32 million, the Democrats, and the Republicans spent $22 million.
Democrats did not produce well in last November. Do you still see energy on the Democratic side in terms of trying to change things up in the midterms?
I see energy amongst Democratic activists. The problem with the Democratic Party, of which I'm an active member of, the activists are way to the left of the typical Democratic voter. And so when we nominate a progressive, a Bernie Sanders type, and I know my friends in the Bernie Sanders, I love you, but you guys, you can't win a Democratic primary. How do you think you're going to appeal more to conservative members of the other party?
Speaking of Bernie Sanders, I think out of this entire Russian investigation, what we should be looking into, what happened from the DNC. The DNC railroaded Bernie Sanders out of the way for the Clinton machine. And I think that turned off a lot of these Bernie Sanders supporters. So there needs to certainly be an acknowledgement about what's inside this information. So the American people are tired. We're tired of hearing about the Russian story. But on the other hand, they're disenfranchising the reality, and they're disenfranchising these voters that have care. There's progressives, there's libertarians, and they are on the far other end of the scale, and there certainly should be some sort of unifying factor.
Are you saying there is no Russia story?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that from within the Russia story, Bernie Sanders, the information that was leaked from the DNC, indicated that Bernie Sanders was railroaded by his own party.
All right. Before we go, we want to share with you what some of our viewers are saying about last night's topic, Florida's Stand Your Ground law. Earlier this month, Governor Scott signed a new version of the law. It now shifts the burden of proof in pretrial hearings from the defense to the prosecution. Essentially, the state must now prove the person who pulled the trigger wasn't at risk of death or great bodily harm. Second Amendment supporters say the change is long overdue, while opponents say it could lead to more people shooting during confrontations. Here is what some of you are saying. Ron Flynn writes, "Innocent until proven guilty. What's the issue?" Steve and Dorothy Mahan write, "If you need a gun, use a gun. You have the right to defend yourself." Margie Setkulo, sorry Margie, writes, "You are the most definitely guilty of shooting a person. It is not in dispute whether or not you did it out of genuine fear for your own personal safety is what you need to prove, not the other way around." And Michael Eliason writes, "So the dead guy has to prove he wasn't a threat, or a good guy with a gun just might be a bad guy with a gun." Well, what do you think about the week in Washington? Join the conversation by visiting our Facebook page at facebook.com/news@7. And FYI, you can watch past discussions on demand. They're available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. Thanks to all our guests for being here tonight. Michael Sandstrom is with the Sarasota Young Republicans. Barry Edwards is a political consultant and strategist, and Steve Sabato is the editorial commentator for ABC7 News. When we return, we'll have a final look at your weather, plus preparing to reclaim the old city. U.S. and coalition forces are making a final advance to reclaim the Iraqi city of Mosul from ISIS. We'll have the details in our primetime headlines.
Credit card debt can ruin your life. If you owe $10,000 and minimum payments are siphoning away your paycheck each month, you can get debt-free in less time than you think.
I've paid $800 a month for the past 3 years and haven't changed the balance on my credit card.
Get Debt-Free Now has a program to reduce your debt, stop the harassing phone calls, avoid financial ruin, and settle for less than you owe.
I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders.
You're pre-approved for our special hardship program if you owe $10,000 or more. Upon payment of your new lower balance, your debt will finally shrink until you are debt-free.
My family no longer has 30 years of payments ahead of us at 20% interest.
There's no fees until you see results. So call now, make one monthly program payment, and free up your cash. Resolve your debt.
Call 800-685-6422, 800-685-6422.
I witnessed him have 2 heart attacks in ICU. He went through seizures.
We'd much rather have Aaron like this than dead. A lot of parents don't have that luxury.
He can't talk. He can't walk. This is a condition Aaron will live with for the rest of his life because he abused prescription pills.
Mind your meds. Learn more from the Partnership for Drug-Free Kids.
We've all heard how military veterans adjusting to the civilian world may have certain issues.
30. 78.
If only everyone had this issue. No matter what challenge they face, Easter Seals is here for America's veterans.
Your primetime headlines are coming up in a moment, but right now let's get a final check on our forecast from Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan.
Well, thank you, Alan. As quickly as it came in, it went and moved out of here pretty quickly, cooling things down considerably, too. Went from 90-degree temperatures down into the upper 70s to low 80s. That's what we like about these afternoon showers. We don't like the lightning that occurs and accompanies these storms, and there was quite a bit of it near Northport and also into eastern sections of Sarasota County just about an hour ago. Most of that now has since moved on into Hillsborough County, and it looks like it will continue to weaken here. You got to look at it. Some light rain still lingering now near Lakewood Ranch, spreading eastward now into eastern portions of Manatee County, East Sarasota County. The heavier storms are now up into Tampa. MacDill Air Force Base getting hit hard now, so some rough weather there. But for us, the light rain still lingering around across most of Sarasota County and into Manatee County at this hour. We'll take a closer look showing that light rain from St. Armand Circle out to just east of I-75 near Lakewood Ranch and places to the north. Not much, but it's light there just to the east of Palmetto along I-75 near State Road 64 and into Ellington. But no rough weather going on at this juncture. And it looks as though we will continue to see some clouds around, some light rain through the evening, and then eventually clearing skies after midnight. 76, comfortable out there now, and the dew point is at 71. We have some clouds, but some sun you can see in the background here, still starting to shine through from the Van Wezel webcam. East to southeast winds at 6 miles an hour. Temperatures up and down the coast into the low 80s to mid 70s now. Braden at 81, Southgate at 78, Osprey, you're at 81, and in Northport it is 77 degrees. So nice at this time. Rotunda at 80, and the hourly forecast tomorrow, similar conditions. On the beaches, we'll see highs in the upper 80s. Inland areas will get up into the low 90s, and there will be that chance, that ever-present chance for showers and storms scattered about in the afternoon and evening hours. Well, for boaters tomorrow and for the weekend, it looks good out there. A light chop on the bays and inland waters. Be careful. A lot of boats out there already, and there will be so all the way through July 4th. Seas running less than 2 feet, and south winds turn to the southwest. Now, the water temperature is really warm at 90. That's about as hot as it gets all summer long, and the UV index up at 10 tomorrow. Tides upcoming. The high tide will be at 7:47 and sunset at 8:29. The forecast, scattered evening storms and a low of 76 degrees, which is fairly close to typical. And then the extended forecast shapes up to be showers and storms for the remainder of the week and into the weekend. It looks like we're going to see a good chance of that happening right through Friday of next week. Alan's back with Primetime Headlines right after this.
Outdoor living is one of the greatest perks about living in Florida. So whether this is your style, or this, or maybe this, contact Superior Pools. They've been building pools from Sarasota to Naples since 2001, and they would love to build yours.
Consumer Cellular makes it easy to stay in touch with family and stay within our budget.
Now our cell phone bill is only a fraction of what it used to be.
Our average customers get everything they need for about $25 a month, and plans start at only $10 a month with no contracts.
Consumer Cellular has a great choice of phones. Check out my new one.
I picked this simple phone. I use my son's old smartphone. Kept my number, too.
Consumer Cellular has been an approved AARP provider since 2008, and members get exclusive discounts.
It's a good thing Consumer Cellular is always there, because sometimes I need a little help.
Sometimes. We're proud to have received the J.D. Power Award for highest customer service among non-contract wireless providers.
Over the years, we've seen a lot of change.
We actually use change. Luckily, there are some things we can still afford.
Like Consumer Cellular.
Stop paying too much for wireless service. Switch to Consumer Cellular. And with our 30-day risk-free guarantee, it's easy. Call 1-800-920-3084. Go online or visit a Target store today.
A promise was made. A promise that hit the beaches of Normandy. A vow that captured Iwo Jima. A contract that weathered Tet. A pledge that stormed the desert in Iraq. An IOU that braved IEDs in Kandahar. A promise was made to America's veterans. DAV fights to keep that promise, so all veterans and their families get the benefits and support they earned. For help, visit DAV.org.
That is a pretty good breakfast. You're not even eating.
Not hungry.
No? Why not? What's up?
Kath and I knew that Jenny had been partying a bit. Found out she tried heroin.
Most people don't know what to say about drugs, but we do. Visit us at drugfree.org.
Monday at 5 on ABC7, your Suncoast News.
A group of doctors is warning against placenta pills. Find out why in HealthSmart.
Monday at 5 on ABC7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you.
Now for your primetime headlines. We begin in the Bronx, where a gunman is dead after a shooting spree inside a hospital. Police confirm the shooter is a former doctor at the Bronx Lebanon Hospital. Using an assault rifle, he killed one person and wounded 6 others. 5 of them are in serious condition. Police say the gunman, 45-year-old Dr. Henry Bello, took his own life. Mayor Bill de Blasio says this was a disgruntled ex-employee and not an act of terror.
It is an isolated incident, appears to be a workplace-related matter, but that makes it no less tragic or no less horrible.
Bello resigned from the hospital in 2015 in lieu of being fired. Officials have not said why he left. Now to Iraq, where the United States is making a final push with coalition forces to reclaim the country's second largest city from Islamic State militants. Molly Hunter has the latest from Mosul.
The final days of this battle will be fierce. Treacherous terrain, the U.S.-backed Iraqi military closing in on the remaining so-called Islamic State fighters, forging ahead into the heart of Mosul's old city, the last pocket of ISIS control there. And in that pocket, the UN warns thousands of children remain trapped. As Iraqi forces advance, civilians fleeing in their direction, mostly women and children, thirsty and tired. There are many families, he says, hundreds of families still there. The most symbolic victory, the recapture of the ruins of the Great Mosque of Al-Nouri after ISIS destroyed the minaret last week, the exact spot the group's head, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, declared the creation of the caliphate 3 years ago. Iraq's military announcing their fictitious state has now fallen. But even once ISIS loses Mosul, they still control vast territory in Iraq and Syria. Today in northern Syria, clashes as ISIS battles against U.S.-backed Syrian forces advancing on the group's de facto capital of Raqqa. Surrounding Raqqa would effectively seal off that territory, denying fighters any escape routes. And while it looks likely the recapture of Mosul, Iraq is just days away, there is a lot of fighting left to be done to recapture Raqqa. Molly Hunter, ABC News, London.
Here in Florida, police are saying tennis star Venus Williams was at fault in a fatal car crash. Palm Beach Gardens police report that Williams had a green light when traffic forced her to stop in the middle of an intersection. When the light turned red, she was able to move forward but drove into the path of an oncoming car. The driver, Lynn Barson, told police she had the green light. She was seriously hurt, and her 78-year-old husband, Jerome, died 2 weeks later. The family has now filed a lawsuit. Now the Tallahassee, where Florida's new chief financial officer has been sworn in. Jimmy Petronas will take over for Jeff Atwater. Petronas says he will need some time to get up to speed.
You got to remember, I came from the restaurant business, so everybody's a customer. And I really look forward to learning as much as I can from those that were stakeholders in this office. And don't worry, CFO Atwater's phone is programmed in my phone, and I will be using it frequently.
This is the third time Governor Rick Scott has appointed Petronas to a major state role. Florida's Democratic Party is blasting the pick as cronyism. And that's all the time we have for this evening. I'm Alan Cohn. Thanks for joining us. Have a great weekend.